Hello, my name is Minivans94 and I would like to welcome you to my final review of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So, I'm gonna put this in 3 parts, pretty much 2, because I'm gonna start with campaign here, and I'm not gonna talk a lot about campaign, because it's been many months since I've even tried any campaign, but I've honestly not finished campaign. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, it was on a content reasoning. It is actually because, so, of course, the game came out, I believe the day, maybe 2 days before the PlayStation 5 came out. So, I was really, of course, those first early on trying to pick up a PlayStation 5, and it eventually did happen, just later on than I wanted. So that pushed my campaign recording back a little bit. And then, so I started recording on the PlayStation 4 and made it a couple missions in, was enjoying it, very interesting story so far. And then eventually I do pick up a PlayStation 5, lucky, because I know so many people still are looking for one, which is insane. But, so, and basically just to save space, once I didn't have to download that part of the game, I actually decided not to, just to save some space on the PlayStation 5, because I didn't have a ton of storage for actual PlayStation 5 games. So, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't finished Cold War. I will at some point and put it on my second channel. Plus, I've got to just get my second channel up and running again, because I'm kind of in the middle of a series, but I've taken a long break from it, so I'll have to get that going again. So that's why campaign, for the first couple missions I enjoyed, but I don't really have anything else to say about it. But let's get into multiplayer. So, multiplayer, a lot of people did not enjoy multiplayer for Cold War, and I was indifferent. I enjoyed it, I hated it. It was 50-50 on what you saw. So, they did bring in a ton of guns over the year. Basically, most of them were within the battle pass. Every season there was always 2, one at 15, one at 30, which was great. And then a lot of times throughout the seasons they sprinkled in another 1, 2, usually it's a melee weapon. Sometimes it wasn't though. Sometimes it was maybe an SMG and all that, so that was good. Continuing with like Modern Warfare where there's no supply drops, which was good. Even though I'm gonna be honest, sometimes miss the supply drops just a little bit because of the thrill, but I guess that's gambling at that point, and that could be bad. Anyway, so each season usually had a unique theme behind them. Again, I do not remember the early seasons very well, but each season had a unique theme with it. It continued, I guess, with the story from the Cold War campaign with a couple characters of Adler. They introduced Stitch, I believe, as an actual character. They might have talked about him in the campaign again. Don't know enough. Haven't played through the entire thing. But, and whatnot. So, and then they just kept adding characters, continuing the story between Cold War and Warzone. After season 1 is when they got, what's the word I'm looking for? When they brought the Cold War integration of of the weapons and stuff after Season 1. And I can't remember if it was Season 1 or if it was even a later season, maybe Season 2, when they actually changed Verdansk into, Verdansk 84? Again, I don't remember the early seasons, but they did change the map. They added new points of interest, and not in the situation of, hey, they just added, let's say, Nuketown onto the map. No, they actually took away parts of the Infinity Ward, Warzone map, or I guess in this case, realistically, Raven Software, because they're the ones doing Warzone. So they took away significant parts, like, let's just use the example that the big one that they did was they took out Dam from Warzone, and they added Summit, and then there were just different ways to get over there, because that was a bad final circle location within the Infinity Ward version of Warzone, because there was realistically only 2 ways up, and they weren't good. So you really had to be there, like, right before the final circle, otherwise you were if you were trying to run up there, you didn't have a good chance. Anyway, that's enough about Warzone. That's hopefully multiplayer. They brought in the continuation, just like Modern Warfare, where you got to select multiple playlists. So you didn't have to only play Team Deathmatch. You could be in searching for Team Deathmatch, Domination, Hardpoint, all at the same time. Which is, like last year, it was a good idea to try and keep more people playing multiple modes. But I don't know, I think people are still just going to be like, no, I don't want to play Hardpoint, take it out, and then throw in and only play Team Deathmatch. I think you're still just going to get to that point where, yes, you might get a little bit more people, but it's maybe not as many as you think. I don't know. I don't know the numbers. They might see it and be like, yeah, a couple years ago, if we had it just the old traditional way, you would have only seen 6 people in Domination by year's end, where this way you still see hundreds. Again, I don't have the numbers, so it must be working if they're going to continue it, but maybe it's probably more for the long run, where with Cold War ending, a new game's coming out, more people are not going to be playing Cold War. It's just a way to get people to still play multiple modes. Otherwise you'll have Domination where there's only 2 people sitting there just waiting for a match, and it's not going to happen. But I think at that point, at the end of the year, I think they got to, like they have in years past, where they've just made it one big mosh pit at that point. And then, so like throughout the year, keep it in your individual modes. So if I only want to play Domination, I can only play Domination. But, I mean, I guess I can still do that throughout the year. It's just more button clicks for me. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. But, okay. So I want to talk about maps. Again, without pulling the map list up, I don't remember how many came out at launch, but it was a decent amount, and then I think a couple weeks, I can't remember if it was into Season 1 already, or if it was a before Season 1, but it was just like, hey, here's a bonus. We got Nuketown 84. Nuketown had to make its return, which is fine. And I know throughout the actual holiday seasons, like Christmas time, that was basically their map. Nuketown's been Treyarch's map, but it was their map that they could design and make unique for Christmas. It had lights, snowmen, stuff like that. And actually right now, within Season 6, it is the Haunting event, and they've got a Halloween version of Nuketown, where there's pumpkins and lights and all that other fun stuff, candy and all that other cool stuff. So there's that. And then throughout the seasons, they usually, I know early on seasons, multiplayer I felt like got brushed to the side for Warzone and maybe even zombies early on. But later on in seasons, I think multiplayer did get a lot more love. But early on, there was only a couple maps coming out. Like, if I remember correctly, like season 1 or season 2, there came Apocalypse. And then, like, in season came, I think, Raid? Again, I don't remember when it exactly came out. But there was, like, only 2 maps for season 1 or season 2. And it was just like, what? And one big thing that actually really annoyed me throughout the season, I don't mind a remake or a remaster, or whatever you want to call it, of a map every once in a while. But for a little bit, like very, very early on, we were basically playing Black Ops 2. There was Raid, Standoff, Express. There was another one. Oh, I feel like there was another one very early on from Black Ops 2 that came. But I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, it just seemed like we were playing Black Ops 2 at that point, and you would mostly see in the rotation those maps and all that stuff. And don't get me started on the Call of Duty League, the CDL, because I could easily put a section in for that too, where maybe I'll just talk about it a little bit. Because of all the remakes, guess what most of the maps were being played throughout the CDL season? Mostly the remakes, which were, of course, fan favorites, which I get it, but I think they just did it a little too much. Yeah, because basically that's all the CDL was just remake. And basically we're just watching CDL of Black Ops 2. Anyway, like I said, I don't mind a remake every once in a while, but maybe bring in Raid, which is still a fantastic map. Bring in Raid, Standoff, and maybe Hijacked. Versus, I think they got Slums, Standoff, Raid, Hijacked, Express, Rush. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know. There's been just a ton of Black Ops 2 maps, and they did bring in a Black Ops 1 map or 2 with Drive-In, and I think there was another one actually within Season 6 they brought. Anyway, basically, Black Ops Cold War it felt like Black Ops 2, because that's what most of the maps were Black Ops 2. Anyway, so it was good towards the end, later seasons. They brought in more actual unique maps. Again, a remaster, remake, every once in a while. Not bad. Just, I think they overdid it. Personally. We talked about guns a little bit. Again, they brought in guns. 2 guns every season, at least, within the Battle Pass. Continuing just like Infinity Ward did. And what's the word I'm looking for? Usually they brought in ones that brought those same Battle Pass guns in bundles, so you could get them day one rather than sit and have to grind through the Battle Pass, which is fine. This was I guess speaking of Battle Pass, this was the first year that they integrated multiple games together. So, Modern Warfare started it with its seasonal rank progression and all that. And then Cold War continued that, where a lot of people do not like that after every season, you get reset. I'm gonna be honest, I don't mind. I don't know, gives you something to grind again. I mean, I know people are like, oh, then just hit the prestige button and continue to grind through a new prestige. Yes, I get that, and I actually like that idea where when you do sit and prestige, you're basically restarting, everything's relocked. Whereas if you get reset within the season, you still have all your stuff. It's not like you're starting back at level 1 and you're re-unlocking the AK-47 at level 50. It's... you still got all your stuff and you're just grinding levels to play. So I kind of get it in that sense, where you're not relocking everything. But in the end, it's also not a bad thing, because when I'm level 2 after prestiging and I'm going up against a level 55 that has decided not to prestige, and he's got the AK, and I'm sitting with like an MP5, which won't beat it, or I guess an assault rifle. What's an assault rifle that's out with the game? Like, let's say the XM4. Actually, that's a pretty good one to start out with. Anyway, just one of those, like, not as good ARs compared to the AK, because the AK is usually very good in every Call of Duty that it's in. Basically, you're 9 times out of 10 gonna lose that fight. So, then that way, I can always go up AK versus AK, or XM4 versus XM4. It's always at least an option, and I like that in the seasonal reset versus a traditional prestige. But I'm gonna be honest, I do miss the have to now regrind to unlock the guns. I don't know. I guess continuing with guns, you can level up the guns again to unlock attachments, which is great, but I do feel that once you hit, let's say, 55 on the gun, because they're just insane numbers, because there's so many mostly optical attachments, that really pushes them up to these high numbers. Like 55, I think, is usually for what the assault rifles are in the game, if not even higher. And I get, because of how many attachments there are, it's kind of scary. Kind of scary to get and see, oh, okay, well, we've got 55 levels for a gun. Now let's do a prestige and redo that. I do kind of wish you could do that, though. I know in Call of Duty World War II, that was an option. You could sit and prestige your weapons, and I think you could do that since Black Ops 2 up until, I would guess, Modern Warfare 2019, until they brought all the crazy optical attachments and magazines and barrels and all that. Anyway, it's crazy. Crazy. But I do miss being in, like, Call of Duty World War II and prestiging the PPSH and the STG. Okay, so yeah, I do miss prestiging the guns, but it's not a big breaking point for me. It is what it is. They're gonna do what they want. I don't control the game. So, I mean, I think that's the main thing with multiplayer. They brought field upgrades back, perks, wild cards, very unique. I don't know. Cold War multiplayer, again, I like it and I hate it at the same time. I know I didn't want to really get into it, but skill-based matchmaking, you can feel it sometimes within a game like this, and I do miss the days of Black Ops 1. I mean, I guess I'm pretty sure the developers or Activision or whoever has said, oh yeah, since Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, whenever they said, there's been skill-based matchmaking, but it's not the same. Oh, I guess being on the topic, they did disband lobbies again, just like Modern Warfare, and I know they did that within the Vanguard beta. Again, just kind of, that's one thing I'm not a fan of, but because of how they're doing their skill-based matchmaking, that's why they've done it, so you're getting more skilled players, and that way you're not in the same lobby for 3 hours facing the same 2 people, or I guess 6 or whatever, facing the same group of people that you're much higher skilled against and all that stuff. Anyway, that's enough about that. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for my multiplayer review, so I'll be stepping into zombies here in just a moment. Okay, so let's now talk zombies. Yes, so basically I want to quickly, I don't remember, because I'm recording the voiceovers here in 2 different parts. Multiplayer out of like a scale of 1 to 10. If I already did it, I don't remember. But scale of 1 to 10 for multiplayer. And I do want to quickly, since I didn't talk about it just like a couple minutes ago before kind of wrapping that up, other mode of League play. Never played it for this game. I don't remember when it came out. So I got nothing to talk about with it, but I know there were different rewards for different things that you did in League play, so that's about all I've got to say about that. So, on a like 1 to 10 scale of what I thought about multiplayer before I jump into zombies, so I would probably give it, for my personal preference, I've said like it, don't like it. At times there's things I don't like, things I like, but for the most part, it was a good multiplayer, I think. I liked it more than Modern Warfare, personally, so I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10, just to be fair. Again, there were things I did not like, especially remakes and all that stuff, but okay, done with multiplayer for sure now. Let's talk zombies. So, basically, with Cold War, it came out with D Machine and Dead Ops Arcade 3. So, basically, with D Machine, that was the only map, like, only traditional map, where Black Ops 4, I think they overdid it with 3 to 4 maps, depending on if you pre-ordered or not, I think. So you got 3 to 4 maps at launch, which sounds phenomenal. Lots of Easter eggs, lots of gameplay, unique stuff, 2 stories, and yeah, it's Black Ops 4 is what it is. But it and then D Machine came out with Cold War, the only actual round-based map, and I think they needed, yes, they had Dead Ops Arcade 3, so of course you'll be getting gameplay of different maps and stuff. I don't know what I'm gonna throw in, yada yada. I should probably mention pumpkins on their heads, not normal. This was haunting event gameplay. Let's continue. So, Dead Ops Arcade 3 came out, which was fantastic, because Dead Ops Arcade, the original, came out with Black Ops 1, and then skipped a year with Black Ops 2. Black Ops 3 brought in Dead Ops Arcade 2, and then skipped a year with Black Ops 4, and then Cold War brought it back, and I think Dead Ops Arcade 3 is the best iteration of the mode. But is it enough to keep people playing when they get bored of D Machine? No. Especially, I forgot when they updated it, but for a little while, Dead Dead Ops Arcade did not get you any further in Battle Pass or level you up. It was just its third mode. Not third, it was just an extra mode within Zombies. Legitly. It was just, if you are that bored, this just to do something different. So, I don't think, even though Dead Ops Arcade 3 is the best iteration of it, because they actually, with each season, put in new levels for it, which was really, really cool. Like, not, like, you still got the same main islands, but there is, a thing after some teleports where you get thrown into what they call the wild, and then there's different sections within the wild that you can go into, which are like little mini games and stuff. So they added more little mini game maps or something, I believe, to Dead Ops, but like the main like route of the island or whatever is the same. They didn't add new spots of the island. So they did bring in the first person mode early on. Not like the actual like game mode, I'll talk about that here in a second, but like when you're in game, there's the little icon for first person. They brought that back. Fantastic. That was one thing from Dead Ops Arcade 2, which was phenomenal. And then they decided, you know what? So many people like that. Let's just make Dead Ops Arcade first person. So they gave Dead Ops Arcade first person mode. And that, I know Dead Ops Arcade is supposed to be that old arcade game look, and some people like it, and then some people really wanted to experience Dead Ops Arcade first person fully, and they did that, and I think that is the best version of Dead Ops Arcade. No joke. That's my preference. I think it's the best version of it, is that first person mode. I do like going back every once in a while and doing the third person, but I think if they do more Dead Ops Arcade, they need to have that almost day one. Don't replace the third person, because some people like it, and I know I enjoy it every once in a while, but I know when I play Dead Ops Arcade, like really try and play Dead Ops Arcade, it's always in first person. So that is probably the main reason why Dead Ops Arcade 3 is the best iteration of the mode. Again, I don't remember when they adjusted the Battle Pass and the leveling up in Dead Ops Arcade. I forgot what season that was, but that, if they did that day one, I think more people would have played Dead Ops Arcade. Of course, people probably played it very early on, just as something else to do, but not as much as D-Machine. But I think more people would have if they did the first person right away, and especially the Battle Pass, and actually being able to rank up. So, basically, that was that. D-Machine, phenomenal map. Out of all the maps that came out with Cold War, I just don't know what it is, but I could probably sit and hop on D-Machine 9 times out of 10. Like, if I hopped on Cold War right now, I'm like, I want to play some zombies. What map am I probably going to go to? Even if I'm trying to level up guns, or unlock guns, because some guns that came out, not with the Battle Pass, but, like, there are some guns that came out in season that you could buy right away, or there were challenges that you could do in both multiplayer and zombies, which I think last year, Infinity Ward, just because they didn't have, like, a very good third mode, other than Spec Ops. I mean, that was okay, but anyway. Zombies, you can have challenges to unlock the guns too, and I think Modern Warfare last year just kind of struggled with that, 'cause, again, they did have Spec Ops Survival for PlayStation only, that was part of the exclusivity, but if they had a way to make a way, like if you got 1,000 headshots with a weapon type in Survival or in Spec Ops just in general or something, then you could unlock certain guns and have different challenges and stuff. So I think that's where Zombies actually did better, because they were able to do that better, where they were able to unlock in Zombies or in multiplayer based on the challenge that was there. So, but yeah, D Machine is probably the mode or the map I can go to the most and enjoy the most. It's not kind of BS as much, so I'm gonna be honest, probably D Machine is my favorite Cold War map just to jump in and play. Yes, all the others have unique things, and I like all of them for different reasons, but just something about D Machine, I can just be like, yep, I'll hop on, and I can hit round 30 within fairly quickly, and I just enjoy it the most. I don't know. So yeah, D Machine is probably my favorite out of the Cold War maps. Not saying all the others are so much worse that I never want to play them. It's just, I don't know. If I'm just kind of playing Zombies casually, not really trying challenges or anything, usually D Machine's my map. So, let's hop off of D Machine, though. So when I was talking, Dead Ops Arcade and D Machine were the only two modes and maps and stuff. I was kind of lying, because PlayStation still had the exclusivity deal with Activision and Call of Duty, and they did bring in a bonus mode, which is now live for everybody, I believe, at the time this goes up. Or it's here in a couple hours or something. I don't remember exact time frame that comes out. Anyway, Onslaught. Again, a terrible idea that they had this exclusive mode, an entire mode, which has intel, which helps tell the story of Cold War in it. Like, if anything, maybe Dead Ops Arcade should have been the exclusive mode if they had to give one. But basically Onslaught is, it's not round based, there is a orb field, dimensional rift thing that you have to sit inside. I mean, you can go outside of it, but you take damage, so you want to sit inside of it, and zombies spawn, you take out the zombies, and then there's, once you fill up enough of the meter with zombie souls, it will move, and you want to travel with it, and then after, like, so it will do 2 levels of taking zombie souls, and then there's a elite that comes out, and you have to defeat the elite boss, and then it just keeps going on and on. So when Onslaught first came out, it was unique and kind of fun, but very, very bad at the same time, because Onslaught was, so you would take out the zombies, you would bring in your starting weapon, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit, I believe. So basically you would take in the weapon that you want to start out with. Let's say it was a AK-47 if you have it unlocked. Sure. Take it in and do your first 2 with zombie souls, and then you defeat, let's say, the elite, and then he would drop a max ammo and guns and sometimes a free perk. So it's The only issue is, it wasn't until a couple seasons later where they brought in these things called the Ether Tool and the Zombie Chalice, I think they called it, where you could actually upgrade. Otherwise, you were just using base guns, and you were really looking at the weapon tiers, which is a whole other discussion, which I'll get to here in a little bit, because there's 5 rarities, I think. There's the starting weapon, which is red. There's green, which is common. Blue, rare. Purple, I don't remember the name. Orange. And then a gold, which is legendary. The only way you get gold is from wonder weapons like the ray gun, and then the D-Machine wonder weapon. So, with Onslaught, you were basically just looking at trying to get the better rarity of the guns. So you were always just mainly waiting for a higher upgrade within the rarity of the weapon early on. But then they brought in all the chalices and Ether Tool, and it just is better. Onslaught is better now. And also a big thing that early on, the only elite type was the... Oh, I forgot his actual name for the guy, but the radioactive guy from D-Machine. Basically, his big enemy. That was the only thing early on, because that was the only big elite enemy type that we had. So, of course, with later maps, more enemies are showing up now with an Onslaught. I know I think you still get mostly the radioactive guy, but so you get him in the gameplay that I'm probably showing now for Onslaught. You get him, or I got him first, and then I got a Mangler, and I think I got him again, and then, I mean, you eventually get a couple mimics and stuff, so it's better now. I haven't seen any Panzer Soldats from Mauer der Toten or the Disciples from Mauer der Toten, and I have not seen the big beast from Forsaken yet, so I don't know if they're planning on adding them. I do hope so. And there's with Onslaught, they actually, like I said, there's intel for the story on maps, because you can play, I believe, all the multiplayer maps in Onslaught now that they've released. So, of course, there's the starting amount, and then all the DLC. You can play Raid, Standoff, Express, Drive-In, all those, and then all the other DLC maps that they've added, and I believe all of them at least have one piece of intel. So, now Xbox and PC, you can go search for that intel, even though we're only a couple days away from Vanguard, so why would you go back right now at least? But you can play Onslaught and enjoy intel for a story that you should have had from the beginning. Yeah, I do think Dead Ops Arcade should have been the bonus mode if they needed one. But they decided Onslaught was the bonus and exclusive, and again, it's a terrible system, but I know with Vanguard, they don't have a exclusive mode. They got like, I think create a class slots and some other minor things which aren't very big for the exclusivity deal, like where Onslaught and Spec Ops Survival for Modern Warfare last year were, and especially with it being a year out, it's like, oh, yeah. Anyway, so that is Onslaught. It is a much, much better mode after time than it was at the very beginning, so I know I've seen myself going back to Onslaught much more since release, and it's, like I said, much better mode, and of course they actually took a lot of time with it. where over the course of the year they brought in different modes where the orb would shrink over time, and there would be some where it would be almost elites only, and it just a bunch of different game modes that they've had with it. So yeah, Onslaught, much better mode now. So talked about the beginning of the game with D Machine, Dead Ops Arcade, and Onslaught, which was PlayStation only, but now should be Xbox PC, should be for everybody, depending at the time of this recording. I don't know when that goes live or whatnot, but very soon you should be all good to go. Alright, let's get into the DLC season here quick. So, Season 1 was Firebase Z, mid-season I believe. So, with Firebase Z, first DLC map, it was, I remember it kept going back and forth between D Machine and Firebase Z, which was my favorite at the time. It's, again, already heard, D Machine, out of all the maps, is my favorite, just something about it. But Firebase Z, for a first DLC, actually was pretty good. Nothing too complicated, a bunch of open space, which is good for starting new players out, but it's, yeah, Firebase Z just brought in mimics, manglers came back, interesting wonder weapon that you could build. I mean, I guess you could build the wonder weapon in D Machine. I guess you had to, or you had to go on that little quest to get it, and yeah. Anyway, you could build it, get it from the box, or get it from the trial machines, and you probably, or I shouldn't say probably, I bet you could get the wonder weapon from the trial machines for D Machine, or maybe they added that later, or maybe they didn't add it at all, and I'm just babbling on something that I think is there. Anyway, so Firebase Z, interesting story, introduced Peck to the story, because there wasn't really a villain in D Machine. I mean, there was the radioactive guy in the Easter egg and stuff, kind of talked about, oh, this is what the scientists did, and it showed off, I think, Vogel and a couple other scientists that they talk about within the story, but Peck was that first real villain type character. Just kind of like what Monty turned into with Black Ops 3. He's like there, but yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I don't really have much else for Firebase Z. It's a good map. It's do I want to say the biggest? Yeah, I would say it's probably the biggest, other than Outbreak, which we'll get to here in a second. The biggest map for space. I mean, D Machine has some good spaces to run and whatnot, but it's probably that traditional like first DLC, like with Black Ops 1, Ascension was a good map. And then there was a dud with Black Ops 2 with Die Rise. Black Ops 3 had Der Eisendrache, that was a good map. Black Ops 4 had Dead of the Night, that wasn't as good of a map. And Cold War, I think, had a good map for DLC 1. So, and then came Outbreak with DLC 2. So, basically, Outbreak was the first thing. We've never seen this in zombies before. It was Treyarch's first go at open world, which was interesting, to say the least. And, well, so you would start off in one of the fire team maps for multiplayer, and basically you had different objectives that you had to complete. Once you completed, well, you had the main objective. If you completed that, that's fine. You complete it, and then you move on. You can either move on to the next map, or you can call for an exfil, like you could in all the other maps, which I didn't talk about yet. Anyway, so, there were also a bunch of side objectives that you could do, get your points, guns, all that other fun stuff, and you could just explore the world for ammo, points, guns, mystery box, pack-a-punch, all this other fun stuff. So, probably the biggest nitpick I have with Outbreak is I feel like there are so many times where you're just kind of walking around and there's not a whole lot of zombies. Like, with Outbreak, I would think what would be good is go with, just like Dead Rising, where there are zombies everywhere. Since it's not round-based and the world grows harder every time you teleport to the next map, so you're basically on level 1, maybe don't have as many zombies, just kind of get your bearings, and then once you go further and further, more zombies are like, you spawn in and it's just, you can't see in front of you, it's just zombies everywhere type of thing. That would be nice, but I feel like there were just a lot of periods where you're just like, alright, you took care of, let's say 20 zombies in an area, and then nothing else is showing up until you kind of walk away a bit to a next little bit of area, and then more would spawn. It's just, it doesn't feel like there's enough zombies on the map. And one thing that wasn't as big of a nitpick to me, but I'm gonna throw it in this final review with Outbreak from a good friend of mine on the channel quite a bit, USA Marine 125. His biggest nitpick, I think, with Outbreak is the maps are too clean. There's only one night map, and it looks like the buildings are in pristine. If this is supposed to be overrun with zombies, you'd think buildings would be destroyed, a lot of blood everywhere, all this other stuff. Basically, they just took the fire team maps, added the perks, or the Wonder Fizz, I should say, pack-a-punch in an area, and just threw a bunch of zombies there, and it's like, yep, we're done. Like, they didn't try and make them unique to the fire team maps. It's, I kind of wish they did, but it wasn't as big of a nitpick as it is to him. But I think my biggest nitpick is I don't feel like there's enough zombies on the map at a time. I know when Outbreak first came out, there was no Easter egg quest, main quest, and then they did they did add the main quest. I forgot which season, but they did add it. That's the only actual quest I haven't finished on Cold War, and that's one thing that I did like with Cold War a lot, is they brought Easter eggs that seemed very easy and doable, which was nice. Outbreak, still not the only one I've completed. For me personally, Outbreak is just not my favorite mode. So probably, right now it would go, out of everything I've talked about, I would almost rather play Onslaught than Outbreak. It's just, the map is too open but not enough zombies. It just, I don't know, something about Outbreak is just not my cup of tea. And then if it's kind of how Vanguard is kind of sounding, they're gonna kind of stick to more like an Outbreak route. And it's like, ooh, no, I'd rather do round based, but you just gotta go with what you got, right? Anyway, we'll figure that out once Vanguard is in our possession. But, so, that was Outbreak. It's unique, and there are things I think they need to do to make it a better mode, but it's okay every once in a while. So, that was technically DLC 2. They've added yeah, all the Fireteam maps to it. So, and then DLC 3, Mauer der Toten. And this was our first round-based zombies map since I think it would have been, because when did season 1 start? Like mid-December, so probably, I think it was like early February was when Firebase C came out. And I think Mauer der Toten came out in like July. So it had been a good chunk of time in between round-based maps, and I think that was a big issue for a lot of people. It's like, oh, they count Outbreak as DLC too. Oh, that really hurt the round-based community. But I think Outbreak, yes, it came out, but I think it should have been like a, hey, new map for DLC 2 whenever Outbreak came out. I think it was season 2, maybe 3? 3 sounds a little more right. So they should have been like, alright, Outbreak's gonna start it, but mid-season you'll get maybe a small, more survival map. Not as big. Like, Outbreak is still its main thing, but at least give something to the round-based group. But then you could also argue, well, just play Onslaught. Well, remember, Xbox and PC didn't have Onslaught at that time. So, no, they were left with Firebase C and D Machine. Even though, I mean, it's eh. Anyway, back to Mauer der Toten. It was a good map. It would probably be my second favorite at this point of the Cold War maps. I do love that they integrated the phone booth from the initial reveal trailer of Cold War Zombies, and it was unique, had a unique wonder weapon, I'll say that. Brought in the Disable, I think they're called, and brought in the Panzer Soldat again. So, that Easter egg was unique, interesting, and side Easter eggs, all that fun stuff. I don't know, Mauer der Toten is probably my second favorite map of Cold War, and then Firebase C for round-based maps. That's how it's going. And then we got into DLC 4 with Forsaken. So DLC 4 was a lot of just, I think basically the entire map was just a campaign mission, if I remember correctly, because I do remember at least doing that campaign mission. I know I talked about not doing much of the campaign, but that was one I did make it to, which was that, I forgot the name of the mission. Anyway, not the point. It was basically, the entire map was that mission. Of course, they added different areas, whatnot, and I know they reused a ton of assets. D-Machine basically reused Noctur and Toten, but there was, to my knowledge, a lot of new playable space. Firebase C Spawn was basically a campaign mission, but I think once you got through the teleporter, that was a bunch of new map. Mauer der Toten, to my knowledge, well, no, I was gonna say, to my knowledge, that's almost a full map on its own. No, one of the main levels where that phone booth is that I was talking about was a campaign mission because of that. There's a coffee shop or a restaurant, I don't remember exactly what. That's a campaign mission. And then Forsaken, basically, campaign mission. So a lot of reused assets, and I feel like you could almost do that with any zombies map, other than mostly the launch maps are the ones that are least what's the word I'm looking for? Reused assets. But I don't know. Forsaken, it's still fairly new. Easter egg was very short and easy, especially the boss fight. That was so easy, which isn't always a bad thing, but I feel like it was just a little too easy for my taste. I'm not eating. Anyway. I don't know. The Wonder Weapon is very, very good on Forsaken. It had a very unique entrance to the map, where it was just, the rounds would just keep ticking up, and zombies, and kind of like Moon, but a little different, because Moon was just a timer where zombies kept coming, where Forsaken is rounds keep going up. So you could be on round 15 within a couple minutes and not leave spawn. I don't know. Forsaken, I still gotta play it a little bit more. It's a unique map, but I feel like it's honestly my least favorite of the maps at the moment. So it's going D-Machine, Mauerder Toten, Firebase C, and then Forsaken. A lot of story implications with Forsaken, which was cool. Tied some stuff up. Had more questions brought up too, but... And then for actual like game modes of Dead Ops Arcade, Outbreak, and Onslaught. Onslaught's my favorite. Then honestly, probably Dead Ops Arcade, and then Outbreak. So... Zombies had a very, very good year with all the maps. There were other things I didn't like the weapon rarity system. I didn't like that. And I remember that beginning trailer for Zombies where it was showing off the kill streaks. I was worried about that. Some of them are still, like, I don't like. Chopper Gunner I don't like, because if you're in solo, you're now in just a super bubble while you use the kill streak and whatnot. It's fun, but not what I would like. And then, what else? Pack-a-Punch having 3-tier upgrades. Phenomenal, that's a good idea. One thing I actually didn't find out till Mauerder Toten that now I don't like is that you can put the ammo mods on non-pack-a-punched guns. I don't know why that bugs me, but it bugs me. I think the gun needs to be pack-a-punched in order to put the ammo mod on it. I don't know, that's just me. There's that. Armor, I actually didn't like. I mean, I know they tested armor all the way back in World War II Zombies, and it replaced Jug. I liked that. They tried it in Black Ops 4, replaced Jug, but they gave you the amount of health of Jug, so it wasn't something you bought, but you already had it from the beginning, made it a little too easy, and then there was armor that you could get for using your specialist weapon, which it broke, and then the only way to get it was using the specialist weapon. But then Cold War brought armor and a Jug. That you could get armor a ton. And honestly, I'm iffy on it. I like it, but I don't. Because, I mean, once you hit tier 3, other than bosses, it seems like normal zombies don't take it out very quickly, but like tier 1 armor, you can lose it still very quick. I don't know. It's yes and no. I like it, but I don't. I don't know. I just gotta move on, otherwise I'll just be on this subject way too long. Talked about kill streaks, weapon rarity, didn't like. Don't like that wall weapons are basically useless, and I also don't like that they basically told you, hey, you can bring any gun into battle. So I could bring an LMG with 500 rounds, and basically, if I just keep upgrading the weapon rarity, and pack-a-punching it, that could be the only gun I use. So basically the box is worthless too. So that's one thing I didn't really like, but we'll see how they change it. Being able to craft grenades and monkeys and stuff, I thought that was going to be very something I didn't like, especially on like the monkey side that you could craft, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because it takes a lot of salvage, and the salvage isn't... It takes a decent amount of salvage to get monkeys, and now, after Mauer der Toten, they basically brought in Gersh device. It takes a decent amount of salvage to build that. Kind of sucks that max ammos don't replenish that stuff. But you can realistically get more every round versus sitting waiting maybe 4 rounds until you get a max ammo or something. So it's actually nice. I actually like crafting monkeys. I thought it was going to be overpowered, but it's not. So yeah, Black Ops Cold War Zombies. I've got some things I don't like, but there's a lot of good things I like. So usually with zombies, it usually does get better and better every installment. Like, Cold War is, in my opinion, better than World at War, because they've added so much stuff, and it just keeps going up and up on the list, where what's the word I'm looking for? I enjoyed Cold War a lot for zombies, and I said that with Black Ops 4 too, where I actually really enjoyed Black Ops 4 zombies, and a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't like Cold War zombies, but I did, and most people didn't like Infinite Warfare zombies. I'm not gonna say I loved it, but it wasn't as bad as I feel like some people made it out to be. Probably the only one that's really one that I'm like, I'd rather not play that would be Exo Zombies. I mean, I enjoyed World War II zombies. It's Cold War Zombies. Of course, no game is perfect, so it's not gonna get a 10 out of 10, but I actually really enjoyed Cold War. I'm gonna give it a 9. It might be crazy. There are things I disliked, like I said, the rarity system with the weapons. A lot of the maps weren't crazy unique, but they made them unique enough where it's like, okay, I recognize this from a campaign, but it's not that big of a deal. Like Firebase C, oh, they took Spawn from a campaign mission. I know I played that campaign mission because I recognize it, but it didn't be like, oh, this is a reused asset, blah, 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 blah. But something with Forsaken, like, because that's almost the entire map, I feel like. If you use it in small enough portions, I don't care. And then just like the Mauer der Toten, like that central area with the phone booth, and then there's the one building that's the cafe. It's from campaign, but it's not as big of a deal. Forsaken, I feel like they just were like, yeah, let's just completely take this and do it. That's the map. But I don't know. Cold War Zombies, I really enjoyed throughout the year. Oh, one other big thing I disliked, other than D Machine. Why were there no trophies? Just calling cards for the Easter eggs? There was no trophies for, like, unlocking Pack-a-Punch and stuff? Like, I liked going for trophies versus calling cards. Come on. Anyway. Yeah. Cold War actually gets a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed Cold War Zombies, and I am going to now end this video. It is super long. I've got a lot of editing to do to get this out when I want to. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate a like, subscribe for one more Cold War stream, and then basically Vanguard. But yeah, definitely subscribe to see Vanguard here within the next couple days. But until my next video, I'll catch you guys next time.